This is Audrey welcoming you to the 1872nd edition of Enfield Talking Newspaper, Dateline, the 13th of September 2012. The readers this week are Elizabeth, John and myself, with Paul, who's kindly offered to help us out this evening on the recording because Dave's wife has had a nasty accident in her wheelchair, which is very unfortunate. The items that we will be reading come from our local newspaper, the Enfield Gazette, the Enfield Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, and they are their copyright. The major stories this week start off with Almer Estate asks, where will we live? The league kicks out football team. There are plans for Treetop Adventure Rumble On. And Lisa sings national anthem at the closing ceremony of the games. But first of all, there are some special news items this week, and the first one is a reminder about the drop-in on Thursday, the 20th of September, which is at 10:30 and goes on till 12:30 at Park Avenue. All your favourite things will be there and available for you to try. And then there's another message which might affect you, and so we're giving you some warning of it. And these are all from Diane de Jersey, so if you want more information, perhaps you give her a ring. Anybody who has a free video set, top box, or a free view television set, as from the 19th of September, at lunchtime onwards, they may find that it doesn't work too well, and that means they will need to have someone in to help them to update it. So I hope that doesn't happen to your house. So at the end of side 2, please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the cassette into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. I'm going to hand over to John. He's a new, well, he isn't really a new person because he used to do it, how many years ago was it, John? About 30?
At least 30, yes.
And he's come back to us, so that's lovely, isn't it? So he's going to start things off with his item of headline news.
The council has admitted that there are still 35 children in Enfield who might not have started primary school due to borough-wide pressure on school places. Although the authority has created 2,113 new primary school places in the past 2 years to meet the growing demand, the Advertiser can reveal that for parents who applied after the cut-off point of January the 15th, there were still 35 children who, according to the council, had not been placed in their preferred school. Aoife Orhan, Cabinet Member for Education, urged parents who need to apply for a place for their child for September 2013 to do so before the January deadline so that applications can be processed quickly and effectively. But the Cabinet member did acknowledge the pressure primaries in the borough are under. She said, "We have been able to offer a reception place to every child whose parents applied by the deadline for school admissions in September, and I'm delighted we have managed to meet this huge demand for school places in this borough."
A fresh row has broken out over the future of the Almer Estate after the council announced the first part of its plans to rehouse tenants while sections are demolished and rebuilt. Correspondence sent to residents of the Ponders End estate last week outlined the different phases of the regeneration and a staggered system of relocation designed by Enfield council bosses to ensure the minimum number of people have to move more than once in the next 5 years. The letter read, Phase 1 tenants would like to be rehoused on the estate. Who would like to be rehoused on the estate will have to be temporarily rehoused for approximately 5 years. The intention is to temporarily rehouse these tenants into empty properties in the low-rise blocks Almer Road, Napier Road, Scotland Green Road, South Street and Fairfield Close. But Nigel Hassan, Vice Chairman of the Almer Estate Residents Association, told the Advertiser there are 131 flats in Phase 1. They haven't got 131 properties in the low-rises. They've only got about 60 or 70 leaseholders in the low-rises the council can buy out. The authority maintains this will not be a problem, however. It claims that only 40 to 50 Phase 1 tenants who live in the most dilapidated conditions in Kestrel House want to stay on the estate, with many opting to leave instead. The council also expects that it will have about 170 properties there in which it can temporarily house tenants, all of which must be purchased, compulsory if necessary. But Mr. Hassan said, "We don't want our tenants to lose out, and now we're thinking we want the estate revamped rather than knocked down and rebuilt." That choice was expected to be put to residents at a public meeting held last night. Mr. Hassan added, "They have not explained it properly to residents. We're concerned. We just want to make sure our residents are looked after in the best way possible." Mr. Hassan's caution was echoed by Ricky Powell, chairman of the Residents' Association. Ahead of last night's meeting, he said, "The main feeling is we do want to work with the council, but we're not sure." The councillors hit back at Mr. Hassan's comment. Ahmet Okaner, cabinet member for housing, said, "The allegations made by Mr. Hassan are inaccurate and unhelpful. We're looking forward to working closely with the Residents' Association, which shares our vision of transforming the Alma estate and significantly improving the quality of life for the residents living there through this exciting and ambitious project."
Chicken Shed singer Lisa Hermans took centre stage at the Paralympics closing ceremony on Sunday night when she sang the national anthem in front of an audience of millions. The 30-year-old soprano, who released a charity single earlier this year, was chosen to perform after auditioning before the ceremony's creative director, Kim Gavin. Lisa of Middleton Avenue, Enfield, said she was very proud to have been involved in the closing ceremony, which was watched by more than 7 million viewers in Britain alone. "I think it was the biggest concert I have ever done," she told the advertiser. "I've never performed to a crowd like this before. I felt honoured. But I was quite emotional while I was doing it. I really enjoyed the whole thing." Lisa, who is autistic and blind, joined Southgate-based inclusive theatre group Chicken Shed when she was just 7. She released a single of her version of the national anthem for the Queen's Jubilee in July in aid of Chicken Shed. Lisa said she started rehearsals for the show last week. She added, "I was sworn to secrecy. I couldn't tell anybody, not even my family. At first they wanted me to stand on a moving crate, but I did not feel safe on that. So in the end I sat on a chariot and 2 people led me to the microphone. Once I started, the whole crowd was singing along. It was very enjoyable. It will be something that I will look back on with very happy memories. I've got it on my computer so I can reply whenever I want."
An Edmonton-based football club dedicated to keeping kids off the street has been kicked out of its league. More than 300 young people aged 7 to 15 play for Rapide Football Club in Pym's Park, which was started 3 years ago in a bid to end postcode rivalry across Enfield and Haringey. Club Secretary Tim Aleshe said the club is crucial as Edmonton has a prolific gang culture and football is a way of breaking down barriers. He said, "We try to use football to get the kids off the street and find an exit to better things in life. It's a way of it's a way of bringing young people together. If you look to what is happening in Enfield and Haringey, we are mentors for young people." According to Cheshunt Youth League, the club failed to meet the deadline to register. However, Mr. Aleshe insists he applied to register in time. Pardon me. And although the footballers will be able to continue training, there will be little point if the 9 teams cannot compete in matches. On Monday, the young footballers and Mr. Aleshe stormed Cheshunt Youth League's annual meeting in protest at being axed. The players dressed in their football kits and carried A4 banners which read, "Why do you want us out of the league? All we want to do is play football with our local friends." Mr. Aleshe, who interrupted the meeting 10 minutes after it started, said, "We only stayed for 2 minutes as I've got so much respect for the other managers, and the last thing I want to do is for them to see us as troublemakers." I don't know what's going to happen, and we're feeling nothing but frustration. Mark Prince, whose 15-year-old son, Kian, was fatally stabbed outside his Edgware school in 2006, is calling for the league to reinstate the club as part of the league. Mr. Prince set up the Kian Prince Foundation in 2007 in memory of his son, who was a talented footballer and played for Queen's Park Rangers youth football team. Mr. Prince said he supported RAPAID's aim of trying to stop young people getting sucked into gangs and knife crime. He said football teaches young people to show respect. It's also an icebreaker. When they go to school, they all talk about their games. Now what will happen? A statement from Cheshunt Youth League said, RAPAID applied to register their team in the league 6 weeks after the deadline, and it's for that reason the club and some other clubs were not taken back into the league. They have around 9 teams, and all of them have been placed with leagues. The spokesman said another statement would be released in due course.
More than 1,200 people attended this year's Bandstand Marathon at Hillyfields Park, raising some £600 for the charity Bridge of Hope, which supports orphans and abandoned children in Rukungiri, West Uganda. Bands and buskers filled the line-up on Sunday at the sun-drenched bandstand, with clowning for kids too. It was such a great day with families and children out enjoying the music in the sunshine, says Tony Claydon, event programmer from the Friends of Hillyfields campaign group. It was like a little bit of old England.
A man from Enfield who was evacuated during the Second World War revisited the home he was sent to 72 years ago. While on holiday to Cornwall with his son Stephen last week, Leonard Jennings, 82, of Mahone Close in Chayside, was amazed to find the house looking the same as it did when he lived there aged 11 with his older brother Sid. Mr. Jennings, who grew up in Edmonton, was sent to live with the Sanders family in Penzance when the bombings became too frequent in London in 1943. As Mr. Jennings and his son stood outside the house, which is for sale, the owner pulled into his drive and was more than willing to show them around. When he was taken into the study, Mr. Jennings recognised it straight away as the bedroom he shared with Sid, who died of a brain tumour in 1980. Mr. Jennings said his fondest memory was hiding in the coal cupboard with Mr. and Mrs. Sanders and their sons John and Bernard during an air raid. He said, "We all got into the coal cupboard, and I remember Bernard, who had measles, and I was more worried about catching the measles than about the bombs."
A Ponders End man has appeared in court in connection with the disappearance of 2 teenage girls from foster care in West Sussex. Adosa Usubiafo, 34, of Keats Close in Scotland Green Road, Ponders End, appeared at Uxbridge Magistrates Court last Tuesday, charged with general conspiracy of trafficking for exploitation. He was remanded in custody and is due to appear at Isleworth Crown Court today, which was Wednesday when they wrote that. A Nigerian woman, Katie Ika, 25, also of Keats Close, has been charged with the same offence. She has been bailed to appear at Uxbridge Magistrates Court on Tuesday, September the 18th.
The con artist who stole £500 from an elderly woman in Ponders End is being hunted by police. The man, who is approximately 40, knocked on the 71-year-old woman's front door in Homebridge Gardens at midday on August the 29th. He said he'd just witnessed an accident and needed her to call an ambulance. The pensioner closed the door after calling the ambulance, but the man knocked again, asking for a towel for an injured person. At this point, the victim invited him in, and he snatched an envelope containing £500 cash and ran away. Just minutes before the incident, the woman had returned home after withdrawing cash from a bank in Hertford Road. The suspect is described as white, between 5 foot 8 inches and 5 foot 10 inches, and of thin build. He was unshaven and wore a dark, dirty baseball cap and blue denim jeans.
A great-great-grandmother who turned 100 last week credits her longevity to an unlikely source: hard work. Rose Irene Thomas, who lives in Servite House in Bramley Road, Southgate, worked for 30 years as a bus conductor in Enfield, had a part-time job in Jewson's construction company, was a cleaner for an elderly lady, and was working until 1987 when she was 75 years old. Mum's claim to fame is no man has ever kept her, her son Bob Banbury, 74, told the Advertiser on his mother's birthday on Friday. She'd still be helping 70-year-olds across the road now if it wasn't for her eyesight, the proud son added of his still active mum. Rose has 2 great-great-grandchildren, 15 great-grandchildren, 12 grandchildren and 3 children, with the entire family joining the party at her Bramley Road flat. And the celebration was extra special after Rose's son Bob, his wife and their 2 daughters, made the journey down from the Isle of Arran off the west coast of Scotland. Originally, the birthday bash for the centenarian was supposed to be a surprise, but still sharp Rose knew that something was not right when her children kept dodging her questions about the big day. She always knows when we're trying to keep something from her, Bob said, and we didn't want her to worry, so eventually we told her that we were planning a big party. As well as the 150 family and friends attending the party on Saturday, Rosie's teammates from Holt White's Bowls Club, where she played lawn bowls until her eyesight failed, were also expected at the bash.
An Enfield paramedic will cycle from Land's End to John O'Groats alongside Olympic gold medalist James Cracknell. Nicky Quartos, 32, from Winchmore Hill Road, set off on Saturday after winning a place on the 960-mile Deloitte ride across Britain in February. She was asked to cycle 250 miles on an exercise bike, but surprised herself when she beat more than 100 competitors, including former world champion pursuit cyclist and Olympic silver medalist Rebecca Romero. Miss Quartos, who is a cycle responder for the London Ambulance Service, is well practised as she uses a bicycle to travel to emergencies. The cyclist, who is based at an ambulance station in Smithfield, said last week, "I'm really looking forward to beginning the ride. I'm hoping to complete each day with 9 to 10 hours and, of course, no injuries. It's going to be a huge challenge for me to complete the distance in only 9 days with no rest days, but I'm ready and up for the challenge." The emergency medical technician was on duty with a colleague when they were stopped in Finsbury Park by Cracknell and Romero, who initially asked if they could take a photograph of them with their bikes. Miss Quartos was then persuaded to give the challenge a go, and she was able to complete it in 16.5 seconds. She'll compete against 700 cyclists to raise money for London's air ambulance and the children's charity Maypole Project.
Enfield's Olympic and Paralympic heroes were among the athletes cheered on by thousands on Monday as they took part in a spectacular victory parade through the streets of central London. Double gold medal winners Laura Trott of Cheshunt and Charlotte Dujardin, who was born in Enfield, smiled and waved at the crowds as floats took them from Mansion House to Buckingham Palace. Trott, who was joined by fellow cyclists Joanna Rousel and Danny King, showed off her gold medals to the cheering crowds. Other Enfield athletes on parade included Robbie Grabatz, who won bronze in the high jump, and gold medal-winning show jumper Ben Maher from Barnet. The procession, which was led by 2 giant red lions, finished up with a concert on the Mall where Catherine Jenkins and the Pet Shop Boys sang, and speeches were made by Prime Minister David Cameron and Mayor of London Boris Johnson. Olympic and Paralympic stars made signs to thank members of the public as they were taken through central London, and many of them tweeted pictures of themselves while on the parade.
2 young artists are celebrating success in a colouring competition held at Enfield Town Autumn Show. More than 200 children entered the Design a First Aid Box competition run by Enfield-based first aid training provider Principal Training. Judges chose winners in 2 categories, children aged 5 and under and 6 or older. 4-year-old Amelia Wallatz is the winner of the younger category. She wins a micro scooter worth £50. Natalia Brodowski, 6, won the older category, and she will be rewarded with a maxi scooter worth £100. She impressed the judges with her hard work as she spent many hours colouring in her template. Michelle Mangan, Principal Training Account Manager, said it was really hard to choose. Natalia spent hours on her colouring and was very determined. Amelia tried really hard on hers and did her best.
Guinness has confirmed that an Enfield chippy has officially broken the world record for the biggest plate of fish and chips served up in one portion, although unofficial reports have revealed that the record may have been broken already. In July, Fish and Chips in London Road, cooked a plate of fish and chips which weighed in at 47.75 kilograms, breaking the world record set a year before by more than 2 kilograms. John Fantis, who owns the restaurant, said he was delighted. We got it confirmed last Tuesday. It was a relief because a lot of hard work and expense went into it. We filmed the whole thing and had it sent off to Guinness. The tricky thing was not the size of the fish. We could have ordered in a bigger one. It was the size of the deep fat fryer. Even when we got it, we weren't sure the fish was going to fit, and we had to bend the tail over, which isn't ideal when cooking fish. In the end, the whole halibut ordered in from Norway weighed an astonishing 82 kilograms. Once filleted, it came in at 24 kilograms. More than 40 kilograms of chips were also added to the plate. More than 100 people, including nuns from the Holy Family Convent, a few doors down from Fish and Chips tucked into the enormous fish supper. According to John, the record may have already been broken by a chippy in Poole in Dorset, but Guinness has yet to confirm this later attempt. During the event, guests raised more than £500 for the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children.
Police are appealing for information after an elderly woman was conned out of £8,000 by a pair of bogus builders. The 80-year-old woman answered her door in Queen Anne's Grove, Bushhill Park, to two men claiming to be carrying out building work nearby last Tuesday at 11 a.m. They told her the chimney breast on her semi-detached home appeared to be leaking. The woman let the men into the house, who then inspected the loft and the bedrooms, and told the woman her roof was leaking. As there was water pouring down the walls and the carpets were soaked, the woman agreed to withdraw money to complete the work. The woman went to her bank in Enfield town and handed over £8,000 to the men on her return. The pair then told her that they would need more money to finish the work in a few days, and when she called the bank to arrange to withdraw more money, staff raised the alarm with the police. Detective Inspector Dave Snowden from Enfield Police warned residents never to commit to cold callers carrying out work on their home. He added this is a despicable act carried out by two cowardly individuals. Bogus callers succeed because they sound plausible. An inspection has revealed there was no leak, and the water on the walls and the floor was a ploy by the suspects to make their story even more believable. The men are described as white, with Irish accents. Police say they would have been in the Queen's Anne Grove and Park Avenue area for some time last Tuesday. Anyone with any information should call DC Lisa Cook on 020 345 4479 or Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111. If you think there's a bogus caller at your door, police advise calling 999 immediately.
And we have now reached the end of side one of this tape. Please stop your machine now, take out the cassette, turn it over and start side two.